After your designs are done in pencil, you're going to color half in with black and leave half of them white. You need to add more details to things like the checker patterns and the shapes. You don't want to leave them this simple, and I'll show you why. The difference between doing a simple design that would look like this with faces, things that aren't colored in all the way, and a bunch of open empty stripes. There's no balance between the black areas and the white areas. It's a lot of white with black lines. There's not much black. You want something that looks stronger. You want something that has a better balance. On these checker patterns, I colored every other square in. On my spirals, I added lines to my spirals. The striped lines, I added different length stripes, thinner ones that are closer, thicker ones that are farther apart. The shapes that I made, the stars and the triangles, are colored, and then I left a border of white and then colored the space around it. The tree pattern that I did has line designs, but then outside I've colored them in black. This has a much better balance, and there's a lot more interest in this picture than in this picture. Don't get overwhelmed. This, again, isn't going to take 5 minutes. This may take a few class periods. If you want it to look nice, you need to go slowly. I'll start with one of my shapes. You can use thick and thin Sharpies. You will probably need to switch back and forth depending on what design you're working on. Before I color my shapes in, I'm outlining them with my Sharpie, and then I'm coloring the inside. Doing this helps keep my lines on the outside clean. If you accidentally color outside the lines, these shapes are pretty easy to fix. You can just extend the border out. Looking at this section, it's actually a pretty good balance of black and white. I could leave it like this for now, but I want to show you how to make the areas around it darker if you decide you want more black in this section. Around each of my triangles, I'm going to draw a bubble. You can do this with a pencil first, but if you're comfortable, you can do it straight on with Sharpie like I am. I'm drawing a border around my triangles. Some of my triangles are closer to each other. I might skip that section. This is something you have to really focus to do. And you might get really close in some areas. Just do your best. The reason I'm doing that is because in the open sections around that border, I'm coloring all black. Areas like this where the triangles are back to back, I will just skip. You may need to go in with a thin Sharpie instead. I'm having trouble with my thick Sharpie not getting too close to my triangles. I made my triangles very close together. I probably didn't need to color the outside spaces in. It does look really neat though. Okay, so this took a whole lot longer now having colored around my triangles, but it looks a whole lot more interesting than just having colored triangles. This is the difference between something one of my younger students can do and something only 5th grade can really handle. So work like a 5th grader and think, how can I elevate this to a more grown up pattern. We're going to do the same thing with the spirals. After I trace my spiral, I will add some stripes to it. I will trace a few spirals at a time. Don't forget to skip them in the spots where there's already a line. Now instead of just leaving them like this, I am going to add lines coming out, almost making them look like a shell. Now my stripes aren't all straight. I'm kind of curving mine a little bit so it looks like my spiral is a little round. So this one has a lot more white than black, but the black lines are all so close together in the design that it is fine. Oh, I missed one. Now, if you have sections that you used a ruler for to draw a straight line, you can use the ruler again when you draw with the Sharpie. Just don't draw on the ruler. If you get a little along the edge while you're tracing with your Sharpie again, don't worry about it. Before I am coloring a stripe in, I am outlining it, just like I did before with the shapes, so I don't have messy lines. If you accidentally get part of the Sharpie sticking out, just take it and extend the line. Now, I could leave it like this, but I want more balance of black in those white lines in between, so I'm going to use a thin Sharpie to add skinny lines. I didn't draw those thin lines with my pencil because I knew I just wanted to do short lines, and I don't really need a pencil to do that. Just having the variety of the thin line and the thick line draws your eye to that section. So keep switching back and forth between thick and thin. I would like to point out, even though I have been fast forwarding, just this part of the Sharpie has taken me 30 minutes, which is about one class period. So if I was working on this in class, I would have gotten this far with just the Sharpie in one class period. And that was with nobody around me and I wasn't talking at all. If you talk while you work slower. Keep that in mind. If you finish your paper all in one day, the chances are you didn't follow the directions. Take your time, go through each section slowly, and think about how you can take a simple pattern and turn it into something that is more grown up, that a 5th grader would do. So instead of just leaving it like this, I'm turning it into a checker pattern, meaning every other one, and alternating. So if I start with this shape, I would then skip this shape and go to the next one. Then the row after it, I won't color the same box. I will skip and do the opposite. So if this is black, this will be white. This is white, that will be black. You can actually see it will also be moving on a diagonal if that's easier for you to remember. Oh my gosh, I just realized I messed up. I was supposed to color this one in black and that one in white. If that happens, just finish off your shape as best you can. It'll be a little bit of a mistake, but in the big picture, it won't be that noticeable as long as you don't bring attention to it. So I'm gonna move down and just keep going since this section was supposed to be black. It does happen. I mess up too. I'm going to keep working on my paper. It has now been about 40 minutes. So I'm going to work on this another time. Remember, each section should have equal amounts of black and white, or even. If you have something that has more white, make sure there are spaces somewhere else that have more black so it balances out. We want a good balance with lots of details and a mixture of thin Sharpie details and thick.